So in our today's video, we are going to discuss about Python class properties. As you guys already know, we are discussing all about the concepts of OOP from since our previous class, since the last few videos. So it's taking a bit of time. So um what are class properties basically? So class properties are variables which basically belong to a class. Yeah. So properties are variables that belong to a class and they store data for each object created from the class. So let's say we say create a class with properties. So how do we do that? So let's say class person, we're gonna define init method as we already know, and then give it self. We discussed self in detail in our previous video. Just in case if you don't know what it is, then just go back and look at its definition. And age, so self dot name equal to name and self dot age equal to age. So now let's say we're gonna name it as P1 equal to person and um and 20 print P1 dot name print P1 dot age. So yeah, so this is how we create a class with properties. So now let's say I want to access those properties. All right, so you can, how do we do that? So you can access object properties using dot notation. So how do we do that? Let's say class person or class car. I created it and define init, self, brand, model. And self dot brand, I'm gonna name it as self dot model and model. So now let's say car one, I'm creating this object. Car, I'm gonna pass the data in it, Toyota, and I'm gonna say Corolla, whatever names you wanna pass into it, like brand is Toyota and the model name is Corolla. Now I'm gonna print that car one object and then brand is the property that I'm accessing. All right. So car one dot model. All right. This is how we access properties. And let's talk a bit about modifying properties as well. So let's say you can modify the value of properties on objects. So change the age property. So class person, define init, self, name, age, self dot name equal to name, self dot age equal to age. P1 is an object I'm creating person and and 20. All right, so print P1 dot age. I called it VI object. So P1 dot age equal to 20. Let's say I want to change it. Let's change it to 25. So this is how I can modify the properties as well. So this is it. Let's save this file. Save. Let's save it. Properties. class properties.py and save and run it. Now, yes, so it's gonna take a bit of time. All right, so it is giving us a syntax error, valid class index, invalid syntax, class person. So basically, on line 30, we have an error. Let's figure it out what the error is. All right, so here it is. I have written class person. So the class, since Python is a case sensitive language, so it should be class like this and not like with a capital C. This should be with a small c. Now let's save it and run it again, and we hope it should run smoothly now. Yes, perfect. Well done. So this is about modification of properties and stuff. All right, so now let's talk about deleting properties. Delete properties. So you can delete properties from objects using the del keyword. How do we do that? Let's say I want to delete the age property. So class person and define init self name age self dot name equal to name self dot age equal to age. Now p1, I'm creating an object person and Irum and 20. Now I want to delete it. So I'll use a keyword p1 dot age, and now I'll print p1 dot name. So if I write print p1 dot age, now it will throw an error. Let's look at it. Because we already deleted the age part. So look, it says line 52, person object has no attribute age because we have already deleted it before. So yeah, now let's talk a bit about class properties versus object properties. So properties which are defined inside init belong to each object instance properties. So properties which are defined outside methods belong to the class itself, which is also known as class properties, and are shared by all objects. So what does it mean? Let's talk a bit about it. So let's talk about class property versus instance property. So class person, species equal to human, and it's called class property, define init self name. Now self dot name equal to name. This is instance property. All right, so the above one is class property and this one is instance property. All right, so now we're gonna call it p1 equal to person Irum and p2 equal to person, let's say parent, and print p1 dot name, print p2 dot name, print p1 dot species, print p2 dot species. All right, and save it. And now let's run it. And we're gonna see our code over here. It's taking a little bit time. All right, so I have I have commented this one out because otherwise it will keep throwing the error and it will keep it will keep stopping my program over here. So in order to not get an error, I have commented it out, and now when I'm gonna print it, it should look like this. And here we have our code. Now let's talk a little bit about modifying class properties. So when you modify a class property, it affects all objects. Now let's say change a class property, class person, last name equals to like this, and define init self name and self dot name equal to name, p1 equal to person, p2 equal to person. Let's say Kiran. And now let's say I wanna change person dot last name and I wanna add something like Ghafoor. So print p1 dot last name, print p2 dot last name. Now what's gonna happen is this surname will be added to both of these codes over here. Now let's save it and run it. And yes, this is it. Here it is. You can now look at this code. So yeah. All right. So what actually happened is that this was replaced by this. This is why you saw that over here. This is called changing a class property. So let's talk about add new properties. So you can add new properties to existing objects. So add a new property to an object. Let's say class person, define init self name, self dot name equal to name. So p1 equal person and Irum, p1 dot age equal to 20, p1 dot city equal to, let's say, Islamabad. All right, and print p1 dot name, print p1 dot age, print p1 dot city, and let's save it. And now run it. So we have added a new property into our existing class for an up. We have added a new property to an object. So this is pretty much all about class properties that we had to discuss. I hope you understood it. See you guys in the next video.